Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of the Pixel Crashers Podcast, a podcast where we discuss our thoughts on gaming news. I am Angelus de Mortiel, together with Kev the Gamer.
Hopefully Morty don't keep us muted the whole show this time.
Hold on, let me mute Kev real quick. Now we're better. Xaiphen is also here.
Yes, with my forehead glow.
And Deathshroud09. Who's awake. That is the minimum requirement for this show. Thank you all for joining me here. And and hopefully I don't have you guys muted this week, because last week I apparently botched the whole podcast, because that's what I like to do.
Wow.
Hashtag blame Morty.
I didn't notice the whole thing. That's bad.
Yeah, well, at first I had my mic muted for like the first 10 minutes of the podcast so no one could hear me.
And then he turned around and muted himself. And someone in the comments caught it. Shout out to Paragon Nova.
Yeah, Paragon Nova was like, listen, man, I'm 40 minutes in and I still can't hear anybody. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
And I'm like, wow, bro, you're patient. You listened to this for 40 minutes. And
yeah,
he
listened to me.
Caught this?
He listened to me.
He's listening to a one-sided conversation.
He told us all to hold the L. I was like, no, this is Morty's L. This is Morty's L gift wrapped.
You guys are implying that people watch our podcasts for what we say. No, they're going for those awesome facial reactions.
Yep. They want to see Kev's O-face.
The memes.
Speaking of O-face, get Review Tech on here. That's what we need to do. Get some of the best faces on YouTube.
I always love that. Yeah. Anyway, so stuff happened this week. Kev has not played any video games because he doesn't believe in that shit. You bunch of kids need to get off his damn lawn.
It's funny. It's funny. That means that at least 50% of this podcast has not played video games in the past week.
50%. You didn't play either?
No.
He was joking. I played games.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I'm playing Civ 6.
Yep.
No, man, I haven't been.
He's been distracted by school, and then he needs more games to play. So Terraria, well, being awesome, only goes so far.
Get some civilization in your life, bro.
Civilization.
Yeah.
But
get that Gandhi life, man.
That Gandhi life. Mm-hmm. So Kev, what have you been playing this week?
I already mentioned Civilization. I picked that and Mafia 3 up last week, so I've been playing a little bit of those. I went back to Overwatch. I haven't played Overwatch in like a month, and I started playing it again Thursday night. I got some good mage streaks going in, making people mad.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. Played some competitive last night. Made some people mad with Junkrat. It was nice. Still playing Titanfall. And played a little bit of The Division too last weekend. Oh, yeah, that was most of my gaming this week.
Sorry, you were on a roll until you mentioned that last game, and then I just kind of
The Division's glorious.
Play Division.
The Division, what the 1.4 patch is great.
Which one's that?
It's basically Diablo with guns, so I like Diablo.
Fair enough. I like Diablo,
but not Tom Clancy.
But I don't know. I just can't get over the.
You can't get over the whole Tom Clancy name.
Yep. Well, it's that.
Well, see, I'm not attached to Tom Clancy IPs.
Well, it's that and the fact of, when you have a realistic modern day shooter and you're fighting against normal other people, like they're just people, not like augmented superhumans or aliens or shit like that. If I have to shoot them 50 fucking times in the head, my immersion gets broken there. Like. If we're talking,
what you call it? 1.4 did help with that. The regular guys like no armor and shit are a lot more squishy. Mm-hmm. But so are you if you don't have any armor.
Well, that's fair.
Get some power armor.
Yeah, power armor. Like I said, that's something that kind of just a little bit threw me off. Like if it's in like Halo, it felt natural because the enemies were aliens. It's like, okay, maybe they're different. You don't know.
Augmented heavily armored.
I mean, if you look at the normal Marines in that game, they died like fucking flies all over the place, and that kind of, I guess, felt realistic enough for me. So my immersion wasn't broken, but I tried. I really tried to get into the Division. I just can't. It's not just the Tom Clancy name, but you know, it's the whole premise of it just feels a little broken to me. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, so you got into Overwatch. And you said you died a lot.
No. A lot of May walls going up. A lot of freezing. A lot of pissed off Reinhardt. A lot of pissed off Tracers.
So what he's saying is he was playing against May and May was wrecking him.
No.
I'm trying to
I was
say
diva bombing motherfuckers.
I was trying.
I was May freezing people.
Did you just say you were?
Did
you just say you were blowing a bunch of people?
No.
Because come on now, we learned from Razor. Okay, we can't use language like that. Someone's gonna get triggered. Okay.
Then why are you using it?
You just walk up and change your battle tag to SMID.
This might actually.
Honestly, you have a history of that, Kev. Like you literally, that's kind of how a lot of your gamer tags came to be. Is you were trying to anger people.
No, just the one.
Just one.
Just the one. Just the tip.
Just the current one that your girl wants Kev.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have reported my Halo tag.
I thought the one before that was like, fuck
it was
you.
motherfucking Kev.
Yeah, that's right.
And somebody, I was playing Halo. A dude, I was whooping his ass. He got mad, reported me, because I guess his wife left him for a guy named Kevin. And so I said, okay, Microsoft made me change it, so I changed it to your girl wants Kev and asked him if this was better. I never changed it from anything else.
You just give a golf clap for that, the wreckage. But so did you get on Dishonored 2 yet this week?
Don't play Dishonored. Not my series.
What?
There's something wrong with
I'm not crazy about stealth games.
This
one
But
genre
you
I'm
don't.
really not that
Dishonored
into.
doesn't have to be that much of a stealth game if you don't.
I
want
didn't
it
like.
to be.
I didn't like the first one very much either.
Like,
I played about 2 hours.
All right, guys. We're gonna have to excuse Kev from the podcast so he can go back and play Dishonored 1.
Well, I didn't like it.
like
Oh, did
That's
you
the thing,
did you
right?
actually play? Okay, never mind. I
played like 2, maybe 3 hours, so I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it was I just saw it and no, I'm all right, but
let me put it this way.
The conversation I had with Major like that.
yeah,
Well, I'm like, nah, I can't accept an opinion from someone who just watched the game on Twitch. I mean, sometimes
I respect your opinion
look at
for
a
not
game and
liking
say,
it.
I don't
but I
like
still think
the
you're crazy.
mechanics of it, or I don't like this mechanic of it. Like, for example, Infinite Warfare. I can tell you I don't like Infinite Warfare because the maps are too hectic, spawns are all over the place. It's not a good flowing shooter.
so there.
I can tell you that from watching a bunch of gameplay.
Yeah, well, there is a certain degree of stuff that you can get from watching gameplay of it, and honestly, that you really should. And that honestly, people need to look at reviews and look at gameplay before they buy games more often. Pre-order culture.
I don't know about
kind of,
reviews because let's not forget about Polygon Plays Doom.
Okay,
That's what makes me worry about
I should
listening to some reviewers.
I've
seen reviews. People said the game was just too hard, and they just suck at games.
Well, I would go to say, gather a myriad of independent reviews. Avoid fucking established media channels because, IGN, GameSpot, whatever. A lot of them, all kind of are not what I would call the most. I don't know.
I do find GameSpot to be more reliable than IGN. Giant Bomb isn't that bad either.
Yeah, I mean,
Eurogamer's okay.
Yeah.
Game Informer is hit or miss. Yeah. But I don't trust the thing that comes out of IGN's mouth.
IGN and Polygon are just
Yeah, they're probably two of the worst. Kotaku, I don't really pay attention to them for reviews.
I will not touch Kotaku for the life of me because they still employ Nathan Grayson. And I just won't. No, I will not even click on a link to their website. But yeah, I mean,
Steam does not have such good reviews for Dishonored 2.
It's broken on PC.
The performance is really bad.
Yes.
Like 1080s are struggling to get 60 frames a second at 1080p.
Yeah, like
And
Yeah.
60
If like
frames
the
a second
GTX
is
1080,
really-
which probably should be getting like close to 130, 140 frames on that game.
Oh, yeah.
more.
Oh yeah.
frames are really important in Dishonored 2 for immersion, for
Yep.
immersion's sake.
Yep.
Frames are important
Yeah.
for most games.
Well,
I won't
I know
even play
most games, but
Civilization under 70 frames per second. Damn it.
there's certain games that it's more necessary than others.
Well, like the way
want
I look
Hearthstone
at it this way is like if
144
you
frames per second, God damn it.
if you've got a system that's set up, you have an achievable minimum of 60. On almost any game I've played, once I start dropping below the I've got a percent range where it can drop below. Once I see it drop below 50 frames, any game starts to become noticeably irritating to try and play. Once it gets below that 50 threshold, because I've adjusted so much to 60 frames. Kev, it may be even worse because he's adjusted to higher frame rates.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, oddly enough, I can go back and play at 30.
Uh,
And I think it's because I never really stopped playing consoles.
Yeah, that
So,
might do
like,
it.
sometimes, but I find I find myself
something
enjoying consoles less nowadays.
Do you have an issue
like
with
I can
30?
play a game on console and not enjoy it, then turn it on PC, play it on PC and love it.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you play that game on PC at 30 frames, can you stand it that way? That's like, because I've noticed that the distance from the screen does seem to make a difference on frame rate when I watch something at 30 frames on a TV, or even 15 frames. Because, I sometimes notice that doesn't bother me as much, but if I see anything, like if I see videos drop below 30 frames, it's just aggravating to try and watch on a PC and games below below 50. It's like, it seems so stuttery.
It depends. It depends on the game for me. Like I played The Witcher 3. I put the 30 frames per second lock on it, and mostly because I liked all the hair works.
Mm-hmm.
So I threw everything up, and with hair works on, I was still getting like 40 frames.
Yeah.
But I wanted a consistent frame rate, consistent frame timing, so I just threw on the 30 frames lock and played it at 30.
To be honest, I will say that in a game like Witcher, like third-person action RPGs, it's easier to get away with lower frame rates, like 30, 40, up to 60. But when you're playing like first-person, fast-paced action shooters or something like that, you can't frame rates everything.
Well, it's not even a third-person, first-person deal. It's a pacing issue because like Warframe on low frame rates is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Warframe is a third-person shooter. Where and that thing's is not that great below this 60-ish range.
I mean, some games, I think that's where it comes to frame timing too. Because Destiny, for example, is 30 frames per second. Actually, I think it plays really well. But something else I noticed when Morty was talking about the first-person shooter aspect, you guys have heard me bitch when my PC goes to 4K when we're playing Overwatch, and I notice it goes to 4K. Because I get a lock at 30 frames per second.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how I immediately, I'm like, there's no reason my 970 should be playing Overwatch at ultra 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
So the moment I feel it at 30, I go check my resolutions. First thing I do. It's almost always at 4K.
I don't even know why it does that for you. It seems like it just really wants you to be in the 4K glory.
Well, the only thing I'd ask on that is, do you have DSR on or
There's no DSR.
SSAA?
There's no DSR
or
available for
the
upscaling
resolution. Yeah, you can force it.
You can force it for your monitor, but not for the game itself.
Well, I've seen people trying to do. I've seen people trying to do 8K tests. They say 8K, and they don't realize, how the screen measurement multiplying factor works. They say, I've got quad Titan Pascals in here, Titan X Pascals. Okay, and they've did a workaround to actually get a 4-way SLI on those, even though they're physically designed for 2. And it's here's an 8K test. And what they did is they put on the super sampling upscale to 2 times. 4K to 8K 2 times. Actually that's exactly. So I see people I can get 60 frames 8K with this quad Titan. No, that's 6K.
No, see now the one who did the test right was Linus Tech Tips. and he did it with 4 4K screens. He put 4
well,
4K screens.
He did it as right as he could with the technology available. But yes, exactly. Where you have that permanent crosshair with the screen bezel.
Yep, exactly.
That was ugly. Except it was offset. That's what made it so bad. It was offset.
Yeah, it was offset. Now, if you had that thin bezel perfectly aligned, man, you would be killing it in them first-person shooters. I'm just saying, your aim would always be spot on.
There's a lot of monitors out now that offer built-in crosshair that you can actually toggle on.
Yes, most gaming monitors.
My monitor has it actually.
Yeah,
I don't use it, but it has
too.
I see that and
I find it distracting.
Yeah,
that's a stupid gimmick to me. I mean, like, there's no point to it for the most part.
It's the same thing as timers. Like they put in timers in them as well.
I would like to refute that argument. Simply because of Halo with skulls on. You know, the one that takes away your crosshair.
See, that's the point of this. The thing is, though, is like any given game, a shooter where you don't have a crosshair or a reticle of some form, there's a reason for it. Like with Halo, with the skulls on, that's to make it harder.
Yeah. The idea putting crosshair on the screen to help you essentially, to me, that seems like it's cheating. You're cheap.
It's counterproductive. So. It's not even cheating. It's counterproductive. It's like, all right, I'm going to make it harder, but easier. So it's exactly the same way I started before.
Yeah, well, it's to make yourself feel better when you're playing a harder difficulty because you're doing better.
I'm sure it's great.
I'm pretty sure it's great for achievements.
I'm sure it's great for the console clubs.
Oh, achievements.
They'll play their Call of Duty, and they play it on the monitor. They can just put that, the crosshair right on the screen. And instant better aiming.
Yeah, there was someone that it was a commercial essentially advertising one of those like gimmicky. I don't know. It's something that physically puts a crosshair on your screen. It's like you attach it to your TV or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, I can play this on hardcore no crosshairs, blah blah blah, and I'm like. No, you're still playing with the crosshair. Like, that defeats the purpose. Like, listen.
The peasantry.
I played some, like, hardcore Team SWAT in my day in Halo. And I understand the challenge of skulls. I don't know. To me, it's like having a crosshair on your screen just cheapens it. Like, you lose your ability, your bragging rights of earning the achievement. But aside from that...
In some cases, you break immersion from the game, depending on the game setup, too.
Well, yeah. Another thing, though, and Travis could probably chime in on this one as well, is the ones that have, like, the Dota or League timers built into them as well. That's another big thing. Because, essentially, then you can... is it Roshan, right?
Yeah.
Roshan, or the red and the blue buffs or whatever... you can set timers on those so whenever it's on there. I'm like, if you're like a pro player or something, you need to be down to the second. I can understand having some kind of timer set, on there, but you're not going to be able to take that into any professional tournament.
The thing about Roshan is it's actually like that's at least in I can't remember about League, but in Dota it's actually a random timer. So like every time it spawns or it's going to spawn. I thought in because in Dota I think Roshan gives you that revive. I don't know if it's called Roshan in League. I know it's called that in Dota, but the timer starts from whenever the buff expires or gets used, right? Because essentially it's a revive for one hero. The hero that lands the killing blow on Roshan gets the free revive, right? They'll get killed.
Needs more mercy.
Early for me to remember exactly. It's too early to remember exactly how it is. But yeah, Roshan it's a random timer. Mm-hmm. But there are things like respawns of camps and stuff. Like that stuff is timed specifically.
Yeah. But still, having it in your monitor, it kind of throws you into a dependency on the monitor instead of if you're really that serious about it, get yourself a fucking stopwatch, right?
Here's one. Get good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
just get good.
There's that too.
So anyway, Xaiphen, what have you been playing this week?
All over the place stuff. I mean, I've been playing Crisis 2 here and there, and then games that you've seen me online with you, Overwatch and Mass Effect 3, and as of last night, we were trying to start out the Fail Within on
Fail with
Warframe.
the delay within.
Well, in my case, like anybody watching my stream, watch me like once I got to a certain point in that, I just kept failing it over and over and over again. Of course, the non-skippable cutscenes, and if it froze up and I had to start over, it dropped me even farther back. Non-skippable cutscenes, like I got just sick of watching that shit over and over again. I haven't finished it yet. One thing that's not a spoiler. It's a warning. You run into freezing issues with the game locking up on you or anything like that. Once you cross a threshold in that story, you will have to finish it. You can kill the game and start it back up. It will put you back there. You cannot just say, "Oh, I'll finish this later," and go run around and do some other shit.
So it's kind of a point of no return.
Yeah. That's not giving anything away at all. That's just saying okay, and you'll know once you get to that point. It's pretty obvious.
Well, like I said, I got to play the first mission because obviously we were waiting with that. I was hoping it would be done before I streamed last night, and it turned out not to be done in time. So I joked the delay within. It's been delayed so many times.
It's another failure I forgot to mention too is like that Sedna junction. I died against the flippin' Spectre. Like, how embarrassing is that?
Well, to be fair, that was Saren, and if you're not familiar with Saren, it can kind of get you on there. It throws it up there. Hey, Mike, what's going on? Yeah, like it throws you off. I know how to handle Saren because I play Saren a lot, and I know the ways to be good with her, and that Spectre certainly was not playing her very well. I took Nezha in there and just fucking wrecked her face. Like, there was no challenge.
Well, yeah, I did once. I went the second time through, but I just got a little cocky, literally. I fired off a widespread shotgun from all the way across the room, and a couple of pellets dinged off the sword, and then that was it. And then I got hit with the armor buster of my heavy armored Warframe, and I went down. And then went there the second time through, and I just same Warframe and everything, just a smarter tactic and wipe the floor.
Yep. But yeah, so I did the first mission of the War Within, and I like where it's going so far. I did have some dude that I don't think he spoiled it. I think he was just trying to be a dick, because there was no way that someone would have beaten the cinematic quest that soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. There's like I said, unskippable cutscenes.
We're currently discussing Warframe, the new update for Warframe, Mike.
It's okay, Mike. We understand. Nobody likes Grind Frame.
Kev doesn't like Grind Frame because he's a scrub. He wants games that hand him everything on a silver platter.
Yeah, Warframe's too fast paced for him.
Whoa.
It's too fast paced for him. He's a little too
Peasantry.
old. He's a little too old, so his reactions are a little slow.
I mean,
I'm like a year older than you, Morty.
I don't know. I've had my past criticisms of Warframe. So.
Oh no, there's a lot of criticisms of Warframe.
I give criticisms on Warframe, and I've spent more time than anyone in our group has on Warframe.
Yeah,
I'll criticize the shit out of that game. While I was playing it.
There is definitely a lot of problems with that.
A repeated statement I was saying while I was playing the Fail Within was, "Fuck you, DE. Fuck you."
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
I like the shit that they do. I also hate some of the other shit that they do.
Yeah, so definitely no one on here is blindly fanboying for Warframe. Rogue can try to say he's on Kev's side, but Rogue is also a scrub. So. Anyway, let's go ahead and get moving on to a game I think we can all agree on. Not Mass Effect.
Peasantry.
I can also spell correctly, I swear. That does help typically. In any case, so obviously N7 Day was this Monday. Do what I want. But by the way, Mike, I will throw it out there. Warframe's free. You can give it a try. You may not like it. You may like it, but when it's free, you at least have the option to try it whenever you like and decide for yourself. So,
Kev, didn't you even try it?
Yeah, Kev did try it.
Yeah, I tried it. I didn't like it.
Exactly.
See, you at least tried it.
Yep. But yeah, so N7 Day was this past Monday, and we actually got a pretty cinematic trailer, and then a few news interviews from BioWare for Mass Effect Andromeda. And I don't know how much of that you guys actually got to check on, or not.
Unfortunately, none.
So essentially, to give a brief breakdown, since I'm assuming I'm the only one that pays attention to news here.
No, I was watching what was going on in between my breaks at work.
Oh, okay. So Kev at least has an idea what's going on. But so for anybody not aware, Mass Effect Andromeda is taking place after Mass Effect. Well, essentially what happened is the Andromeda Initiative was started after Mass Effect 2, before Mass Effect 3. In between
Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Yeah, and then they launched that mission then, went into cryostasis for 600 years, and then this is them waking up. So essentially it's their way of brushing the Mass Effect 3 ending under the rug, because these people know what happened.
Say that again.
So the mission to the Andromeda Galaxy takes a long-ass fucking time, right? So what they did was the Andromeda Initiative, the whole big expedition to the Andromeda Galaxy, left after Mass Effect 2 ended. Okay, before Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, that time when Shepard was in jail.
And everybody went into cryostasis for 600 years on that expedition. And now we're waking up with them. So we're now 600 or 500 and some odd years past Mass Effect 3, but we don't know what happened in Mass Effect 3 because we were asleep the whole time. So it's
right. So we don't know that the Reapers were real. We don't know that the Reapers actually do exist.
That's hilarious. Mass Effect 3 never happened.
Well, it did happen. We just don't. That way, you can pretend whatever
it happened.
Ending you want.
We just don't like it. We don't talk about it. We obey the first two rules of Fight Club.
Yeah, they just swept it under the rug, which is great. I agree
awesome.
with that. Is a very delicate and understandable approach to that system. I can understand why they went that route. They don't want to.
There have been too many variables, I think, to keep it going.
Yeah,
if they would have made. So yeah, we know what happened after Mass Effect 3. Then how did you leave the galaxy after all the mass relays were destroyed?
Yeah.
Or what if your mass relays weren't destroyed?
Yeah,
they're treating it like the first two rules. They're just following the first two rules of Fight Club.
Yes.
Like, man, what is
They'll
that?
Talk about Fight Club and don't acknowledge Fight Club.
We do not talk about Mass Effect 3.
What kind of Easter eggs is that?
But
like, what kind of story options does that leave? Right? Like, could you be getting screams of transmissions of screams of agony?
Dude, that would be fucking awesome. You'd be
from the Reaper invasion.
Yes.
Because
it would take that long to get there, right? Because that's it would have that much. So that would definitely be interesting. That if they did that. So just throw it out there. Yes, I got everything fixed. Paragon. So we actually have audio this week. And hey, what's up, Crown? Thanks for joining us here. But
So the audio, it's only going to be temporary.
Hold on.
And I'm going to have to disagree that Mass Effect 3 is that everybody hated. That got fixed, and everybody still hates them for it.
All right, Kev.
Multiplayer was cool.
So Kev, you have to repeat what you just said because I muted you.
Up until after Anderson dies.
So
Anderson dies is when it goes to shit.
Now let me just talk to you. Let me talk to you about something, right? Like in other forms of media, right? If you've got a movie that's okay, it's decent, it's good, up until it has a stupid ending, does that not leave a bad taste in your mouth, regardless of how good the rest of the stuff was?
I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I'm saying I wouldn't say necessarily the movie isn't a masterpiece up until that one
would.
moment.
I feel like flopping an ending can turn what would otherwise be a great movie into a terrible one. Honestly.
I can
Matrix.
understand that perspective. It's just not how
Matrix.
I feel.
Yep, Matrix. Matrix. Well, the thing is Matrix descended into
series,
nonsense.
the trilogy.
The Matrix descended into nonsense. The first movie was fucking gold, but then it just
Well,
kind of went, what the fuck?
Here's a funny thing is I saw somebody do a take apart on it, and again, this is one of those like fan viewpoints like Mass Effect 3 of like it could be this way. It would make more sense if it was this way, whether it was their intention or not. But Agent Smith was actually the one.
Yeah, he was the one. I like that theory. I actually read that and I was like, you know what? Actually, that makes perfect sense.
It makes a lot of fucking sense, and it made the ending so much better when that happened.
Yeah.
Or when I read that.
But, yeah, so as far as the multiplayer is like a condiment on a really bad sandwich, well, see, the thing is that the game itself wasn't bad for some of its storytelling. Like, I agree with Kev. I agree with Kev that it was literally those last, like, 15 minutes of the game that just kind of tanked. Which is why I hold that the canon ending is the reject ending, where you shoot the catalyst in the head, everybody gets fucked and dies at the end. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this game's almost 5 years old, bro.
Yeah. But you know, the thing is
okay.
though, the multiplayer is
actually
awesome. You know,
yeah, the multiplayer was fantastic. It's phenomenal to this day.
The multiplayer is like.
Doesn't the Origin launcher have a wish list option?
The multiplayer, despite its obvious flaws, like I can't get over like how much of like a fluke it was, right? Like
yeah,
like I've
like that bullshit RNG system.
Like this thing.
Yeah, the RNG system was a little bit bullshit, but like when it came to the actual gameplay, it was tactical team synergy that really, like, you know, obviously if you get some suck ass players in there and people just want to cowboy their own shit, it has, you know, it can make or break the team. But you know that, like, I've never seen a multiplayer game that had such tactical team synergy behind it. It's not just a matter of like how well players work with each other, but it's how well players work with each other and how well the characters they use work with each other and how well they use those characters in the game. I've never seen a game that had
the N7 Fury and do a lobby full of engineers. Fuck you. I'm just kidding.
Or the other way around. You got a lobby full of biotics and somebody's just like, I'm going to bring a soldier.
Well, no, the thing is that won't necessarily...
Well, see, that extra synergizes.
That does synergize. True. But what I'm talking about with the Fury...
It's the tech skills versus the biotics that don't synergize
well. The thing is that specifically biotics fuck up tech ones, not usually the other way around. Because biotic detonators will detonate tech abilities, but not the other way around. It's fucking retarded that way. So in that regard, that's where I was referring to a very specific example.
It's so good. Like it was so good. It was so much fun. Like why did this happen?
It's not a was thing. Yeah. It's still good.
I mean,
we were on there playing like a week ago together. It was still great.
I play it. I stream it all the time. So yeah.
It's still not. Yeah, like you said, it's still not. Oh, like. I could go back and play it right now, and it would still be so much fun. Mm-hmm. And like, this was not a thing. Like, this should not have been a thing. If you look at it objectively, this should not have worked. It should not be this much fun.
I think this was like the early. Well, you think this is like the early kind of experimentation with the character shooter?
Yeah.
You know, you have the characters. It had a lot more customization than the first Mario character did.
You could even say
but it was very much the same kind of concept. You had like 60 heroes.
Unfortunately, that brings me, especially with the release of Dragon Age Inquisition. Granted, I have not played it. I have to take Mort's word on the pros and cons of it. But it has, it gives me some fears on if they're going to try and revamp and revise the ME3 multiplayer and work with that, or if they're going to just use the Dragon Age model and screw it all up.
Well,
no, don't use the Dragon Age model.
No, here's the thing. This is my view on it, because I was very intimately involved with Dragon Age multiplayer from the start. With developers and with that, so I got to see all of the kind of goings on there. There was an implosion of Dragon Age Inquisition's multiplayer development support a few months after the game launched. Like, there was this implosion. Things fucking fell apart. Sorry, not a few months, a couple of months. Like December into January of 2014, 2015. Like, the support kind of imploded. And then this wonderful man named Luke Barrett came in, and he kind of, I don't know exactly how much of a leadership role he had, but as far as him taking the forefront approach to communicating with the community, him and everybody else actually managed to kind of roll around and start going in the right direction. The problem is that it started off on the wrong foot, so there was only so much positively that they could go with. Like, as soon as they came out, as soon as like they started taking control, they started doing some really creative shit with the multiplayer classes.
Yeah, that one class with the guitar.
Yeah, like no, I mean all of them. The Cerebast, the Virtuoso, the Duelist, and I mean the Avar. I don't like the Avar, but at least he was doing something unique. All four of those classes came out later on, and now the one that I kind of omit out of there is the Silent Sister, because I feel like the Silent Sister was maybe a bit of pandering, because she's good at everything, and I don't feel like it's very fair, but I still use her and still kill shit. So the thing is, though, is that you did see a noticeable change in attitude towards the game. And I feel like that was kind of hey, they got their hand smacked. They touched the hot stove and got their hand burned, and they realized, oh, that's not how we should approach things. And they heard a lot of criticism about the way the loot system worked, and how the characters worked, and the fact that there wasn't enough maps, there wasn't enough characters, things like that. And I have a feeling they're going to probably try to rectify all of those. So,
I mean, they had a variation of like basically 3 maps.
The thing is that at the end they only ended up having technically 4 maps. 4 maps, 1 map of which had 3 variations to it. So I mean, if you really want to get technical, I mean, it could be 7. But the level designer, Graham, who was also really up and trying to communicate with people, get ideas. He actually went and had some great ideas on how to try to at least make those 3 original maps a little bit better by essentially shuffling around the zones and turning zones around and backwards and forwards and side to side, so that way they felt a little bit more procedurally generated, so you didn't get as much repetition. But it's essentially you're trying to work with what you got, right?
I mean, it's even like the problem. Like, and I have this problem now with Mass Effect 3, where I feel like they had like 12, 13 maps. Yeah. I think it needed more maps too.
Yeah.
So them giving you literally 4 maps, 7 if you count the variations, that's not going to cut it.
Yeah, exactly. That's, to me, that is definitely not a lot. Now the difference is the map design for Mass Effect versus Mass Effect 3 multiplayer versus Inquisition was a huge amount of difference, right? Because Mass Effect 3, the maps were just one little area, put it together. I'll get to the test version of Sombra. We'll talk about that later. But because we're actually going to have a topic on Blizzard here, Mike, so you know. But so Mass Effect 3, you have a map that's just one singular area. Yeah, you have obstacles, you have buildings, you have all the stuff you have to craft, but it's just one area. With Dragon Age Inquisition, you have 5 zones that you have to mold and put together. So that's kind of the way I'm always looking at it. And if Kev starts snoring on the stream again, we see him nodding off over there. We know what's going on.
My eyes just feel strained, so I've been keeping them closed.
I gotcha. It's the sunlight. They've
been bothering me. They've been bothering me since.
Like every gamer, sunlight burns his eyes. But yeah, so the other
I need to get a blackout curtain in here
of news on Mass Effect Andromeda to kind of to go over really quickly here before we start moving on. There was so that there's that story premise on there. They have the father who's actually an N7 operative. So he's a badass.
Aren't they all in 7?
No, the
Are the
father.
writers in 7 too?
Essentially, how it works is that there was a bunch of these what do they call them, arcs, that each had a race. So you have like an Asari arc, a Turian arc, a Solarian arc, a human arc, so on. And each one of those had a chief scientist and an N7 operative on board, or someone thereof equivalent, right?
Oh, okay.
And essentially on the human one, the I think his name is Alec Ryder, is the N7 operative on that ship.
Yep.
And
Daddy Ryder.
Yep. And then his 2 kids are the characters that you play as. Now, my hope was, and so far it does not seem to be the case, my hope is they don't try to copy and paste Dragon Age 2, where, oh, you pick the guy or the girl, and then the other sibling you don't pick gets, kiked in the first 5 minutes of the game.
No, they have like a role that they're playing like as a side person, and then in Dragon Age 2, depending on the power you pick, they won't necessarily die in the first couple minutes.
I thought that they, no matter
what...
wait,
no. Let's try. You had 2 siblings. Never mind.
Yeah,
you had 2
siblings.
You had 2 siblings.
Yeah, you essentially there was
2,
3,
and then the other one's always a mage, and they always get taken off to the circle.
Well, yeah, like you always have 3 Hawk siblings, one of which always dies, depending on who you pick. If you pick the warrior warrior mage or whatever. But so I just hope it doesn't seem like they're doing that so far. And then other tidbits on there. Yes, there's going to be multiplayer. They seem to be wanting to do more Mass Effect 3 based multiplayer. Good God, do not do the fucking promotions from Dragon Age Inquisition. That was stupid and broke the fucking multiplayer. But yeah, so yeah, that's
be more like Mass Effect 3 multiplayer.
Yeah, and now the one thing that is a bit of a concern, although it's a kind of just a more observational concern, is seems to be this very heavy focus on. We're not focusing so much on telling the story as building up the characters. And that's one where I'm like, I agree, you should definitely have strong, believable, natural characters that everybody can relate to. That's what made
the original Dragon Age great. Or the original Dragon Age 2, but the original Mass Effect trilogy great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, is this isn't a movie where you okay, Marvel movies, they have done well with individual movies building up characters and having a little bit of story to go with it, and then they have the more eclectic character, bigger story movies. This isn't a movie. This isn't a movie world. This is video games. You can build up the characters and have a fully functioning eclectic character story in one game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing is that now the thing is BioWare definitely does focus on their character development, and it's never been bad.
Yeah.
I can never say I've been disappointed. Even as far back as Baldur's Gate or Neverwinter Nights 2, I still like the characters in those games. So that's something they've historically done pretty well. Although I will say that the one petulant fucking guy from Jade Empire, I didn't really care for him too much. He was just annoying. But in any case, aside from that, there was, I still hope that they at least still focus on the story and maybe tell it through the characters or whatever focus they want to do. Still focus on the story. Still give us something that feels good. And
I just want characters that I love, like Mass Effect 2. Like Mass Effect 2, the story wasn't necessarily the most amazing, but what kept me coming back was because I loved the characters.
Yeah, like each one of the characters, like there was something about him. Like even Jacob, who arguably is the Soldier 76 of the Mass Effect 2.
He was really boring, really bland.
Yeah, he was.
And then they shit on him in Mass Effect 3. He cheats on Fem Shep.
Yeah.
He some side bitch pregnant. He just doesn't care about you anymore randomly.
Yeah, but I mean, even with that, you still, even him, you kind of were like, yeah, you're a cool guy. He's trying a little too hard to be your bro, and he'll never take Garrus's place. Sorry. Garrus
Garrus was never really my bro either. I was always a Tally lover.
Well, I mean, Tally is awesome, but I'm talking about like the ultimate wingman. Especially when you're playing FemShep, he's actually like awesome. Like he's like just this awesome bro to FemShep, so it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so in any case though, I'm hopeful for that. I really I do have concerns and reservations on things, and I hope they don't do certain stuff. One major complaint, and I will make this known before we move on here. They said, "Oh hey, we're gonna do some beta signups, for playing the game."
There's no PC version.
There's no fucking PC version of it. It's only for consoles. And supposedly the leaked out reasoning behind this not being on PC is because they don't want PC players to like hack and do data mining and find out information about the game.
So the bullshit they said about with Titanfall.
Yeah, so it's essentially their whole excuse is going with the whole, oh, PC gamers are hackers.
Yeah, and that gives you an incomplete beta testing.
Well, and yeah,
because here's the thing is like that's part of the thing is like you want to do a effective complete beta testing, bring the hackers. They're gonna find more shit wrong with your game than console players will.
Yeah, well the thing.
Well, that's the thing. They don't want the hackers to find it, and it might disrupt sales. It's also why Bethesda isn't allowing review codes out there anymore. They don't want people to disrupt the status quo.
They don't want people to find all that DLC
that is really what. Yeah, that's really what my thing is. It seems to be a similar thing to like you. I see this kind of narrative being pulled around of like, and Ubisoft has been doing it for years. The whole PC gamers are hackers and pirates, and using that as an excuse to withhold stuff from them. But I think it's also that PC gamers tend to be the most, I guess they're the most demanding.
They're the best consumers.
Yeah, they actually question things and don't always blindly pre-order stuff, which we're going to get to that pre-order shit here in a minute.
Morty's already pre-ordered Mass Effect though. Don't believe anything he says about pre-ordering.
Spoiler alert, there's $100 fucking pre-order for Mass Effect Andromeda.
And Morty's ordered 3.
No, I haven't. But yeah, so
well, that's one of the options. You pre-order the base
$60, $70, and $100 pre-order packages.
Yeah. I'm not pre-ordering any of them. I want the game, but I'm not going to pre-order. Screw that.
Yeah, like my thing is that I as much as I definitely want to be on the Andromeda bus, I really hope that BioWare lets review copies out, like a week in advance. Let the media guys get their shit together, get their reviews out before your games launch. Otherwise, I just really wish that people would stop pre-ordering. Don't do it.
I mean, do it like Inquisition. And Morty, I remember you because we were there right at launch. I think we both pre-ordered Inquisition.
Minute
but
one.
They had the reviews out like a month before the game came out.
Yeah, they did. And Kev and I were there live streaming fucking multiplayer minute one that game went live. And the story was actually good. The single player in that game was actually pretty fucking solid. And the multiplayer at that time seemed like it had a lot of potential. And, it was kind of where it went from there. It just kind of never really took off. But so that's the thing is that, we had the reviews. I felt confident in pre-ordering that game because the reviews seemed pretty solid of it. Because the reviews were out before the game launched. Not this whole like... it took a day or two after Dishonored 2 launch before we started seeing some good quality reviews. Come on.
That long?
A day or two.
Well, it was longer than that. Maybe because I didn't follow Dishonored like that, so I don't... So
Dishonored just came out like, what was it, like Tuesday, something like that?
So it came out this...
But yeah, and
I'm so out of it, I didn't even know it launched already.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, right? Is that, Bethesda shit is just essentially they want to try to get those early adopters hooked in. They don't want word getting out. And I really hope that BioWare does not go that route because that is a really bad route for consumers. Also, not allowing PC players to beta test your game because you don't want information to leak out. Maybe then, okay, I can
Maybe you should have a separate beta build.
Yeah, you should have a separate beta build that locks down, like, doesn't have the data mine shit from single player in it, or data mineable
Here's a thought.
stuff.
Permissions.
Yeah. You know, my major thing is that you are going to lack like a very important piece of context by excluding a huge part of your player base. You know, like
Not to mention
your
the
mouse and
PCMR might boycott the game.
well, like mouse and keyboard controls were garbage enough on fucking Dragon Age Inquisition. I really don't think you want to do the same thing with with Mass Effect Andromeda. You guys are really putting your eggs in the basket here. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Especially you don't want a game that controls badly with keyboard and mouse because those games don't sell well on PC.
Yep.
And people don't understand, like, especially console players. Like, well, why don't you just use a controller? Because the same way a controller is a natural input for a console, the mouse and keyboard is a natural input for the PC.
Yeah, I blend that, but that's me.
Yeah,
there's some people that just can't get a whole use of the keyboard.
It's the main option. It's like the default choice.
Yeah,
like you're not getting away from playing games on PC without using a mouse and keyboard at some point.
No, to me, it's mostly just the mouse. I prefer mouse control at all points, but the G13 that I use is it's closer to a controller in a lot of ways because I control movement with the joystick. So to me, that's more efficient and more natural, but that's the way I play. But yeah, any final thoughts on Mass Effect Andromeda before we move on?
I think we should make the whole show about Andromeda.
Right.
We need a little bit more material for that, I think. Just a little bit.
Well, we're going to get some more material on Monday.
Yep. Yeah, there's going to be more trickling out. There was some interviews that went out, and there will be links down in the description on YouTube for that as well for anybody interested. There's Mac Walters did a couple interviews with Game Informer and so on. And like I said, so far it looks promising, but I'm cautious of kind of recent trends in a lot of game developers of late. So it's kind of a please don't withhold review copies until the last minute. That's all I gotta say.
And please don't pre-order.
Yeah, don't pre-order the game, guys. Especially don't pre-order $100 for pre-order. Ugh.
Hey, anyway. I saw the $100 edition, but if you buy the physical one, does that get you like any physical swag?
No. So there is a collector's edition that has
beyond the $100 edition.
It's $200 for the collector's edition, which comes with an
blowjob.
No, it comes with an RC controlled Nomad, which is essentially the replacement for the Mako. So it comes an RC control to that, but guess what? It doesn't come with the fucking game.
Didn't we learn from Wolfenstein: The New Order about this? Because they didn't do that either. They got shit on for it.
So you could potentially, if you wanted everything, all the bells and whistles, it's gonna cost you $300. $100 for the.
And knowing EA, they're gonna put a season pass in there too. You're not getting that DLC for free this time around. Watch.
No, they don't do season passes for BioWare, but they never fucking discount them either. I can go back to Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect fucking 2 has never once that I've seen have a fucking discount on their DLC. And that game
the game is almost 7 years old.
Yeah. Like, that's Mass Effect 2. Forget Mass Effect 3. Like, you won't ever see, like, come on, guys. Yeah. Your game is not the only thing you should discount. But that's another topic entirely. Yeah, so that's the thing is that $300 for an RC controlled car, like $200 for an RC car is, that thing better do some crazy ass shit or something for that price.
I was saying, you need to come on a blowjob.
At least they're not selling a cloth helmet like the special edition of Skyrim remastered. Yeah.
Well, can we get I don't know, maybe some special Nomad armor? Maybe some Nomad paint?
There you go. Give me a helmet. That's what I want. I want a fucking helmet. Yeah.
I want Shepard's helmet.
That's an easy one, right? Because how many games like Titanfall 2's Collector's Edition had a pretty fucking awesome helmet?
What does it do?
I just want a small
Well,
sample
both
of
Titanfalls
Element
have pretty
Zero.
awesome collector's edition.
So,
Both of them.
Sean wants some Ezo. That's what he wants in his special
I just
edition.
want a small sample of Element Zero.
Oh my.
Just a little bit.
No, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do with it.
Yep.
Why not?
It
is important for national security.
Reasons.
He's gonna create a fucking black hole in the middle of the
You heard it here first. Xaiphen's a terrorist.
There was, I don't know what it was. I was rating on some kind of sci-fi something or another because that's mostly what I'm into. But it was like, a slightly altered reality of Earth where, not only had the Higgs boson been discovered, but the world was in a collapsing state on a micro singularity because they tried to measure it. It wasn't discovery, because the problem is when they tried to measure it. I thought that was an interesting theory on that.
Yep. And Paragon,
it does, but not to most people.
Yeah, and to Paragon, replica Hyperion ships. So BioWare actually sells their replica ships already in their BioWare store. So having that in a collector's edition would probably be redundant. You need something kind of unique swag for it, in my opinion, which is, I don't know, that's the way I go, is that they have, I don't know if they have Hyperion or the Tempest in the BioWare store yet, but they have the Normandy, they have the, what's the Asari ship?
I forget what it's called.
Destiny Ascension, they had in there. I think they've had other ones in there as well. But, they
had a Turian ship in there too, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain they had a Turian ship too. And probably the Citadel, because why not? So they will have Hyperion replica ships and Tempest ships. You just give it some time. But that's not, to me, that's not really a collector's edition item. That's something they sell on their own. But let's go ahead and get moving on to kind of the joke of this week. So the PS4 Pro launched this week, and overall the reviews have been mildly positive. Like no one's panned it in any way. They've said, hey, it works well. But the one key in all the reviews has been rather tepid. Like nobody's really excited for the PS4 Pro. It's like, oh, hey, it's PS4 Pro and it plays games a little better. If you don't have a PS4 already, hey, it's worth it. So why do you think this response is so kind of mild and really lackluster?
Because it's not that good.
Ding 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 ding.
It's not that much of an improvement over what it was.
Upscale.
Well, some games
will not native.
There's some games that actually I went a smart approach, and I kind of like this. There are some games now that are patching in for the PS4 Pro that will give you an option 4K at 15 frames per second, and then like 1080p at 30 frames per second. As we found out with Skyrim Remastered, the frame rates they quote aren't always. Whoops. Well, that's kind of expected, though. Let's be honest. But what do you think would be something that would actually electrify the kind of the console market? If a 4K, more a little bit closer to PC performance console isn't going to do it, what do you think it would take to electrify the console market?
I don't think your average console. That's the thing, though. I don't think your average console market gives a fuck. Like they're happy with their 1080p TV. They're happy with their 30 frames per second, and they just play their games. And and that's you. That's fine. I'm not knocking you for that. But I'm saying that this is a premium kind of product, and I think Sony and Microsoft too with the Scorpio. I think they spent a little too much time listening to Twitter and feedback, and the loud minority that kind of defend whatever they do, but then or then the other side that says, why isn't it more like PC? Why isn't it more like PC? Or we're tired of having PlayStation guys make fun of us for 900p. So like that. That's what drove me. Pretty much. I don't think we needed updated consoles. I think the Xbox One, it's doing well with the S model. It's been outselling in America for the last like 3-4 months straight.
Mm-hmm.
So it's doing really well, and I think it made it needed the S. But I don't think we needed the PlayStation Pro or the PlayStation Slim just yet. Base PlayStation was fine.
So I don't know. To me, the thing is that I like the idea of them refreshing consoles a little bit more frequently. I think a lot of the console market has got onto this whole like 6-year cycle thing, and I don't think that's good. I think that's a
Yeah, they've always been a 5-year cycle, 5-6 years. Yeah,
well, yeah. I'm saying I don't think that's good. I think now with the technology advancing faster, they should be cutting down the generation cycles for consoles. And now the way that both Sony and Microsoft seem to be tackling it, I can't speak for the Scorpio yet because we haven't seen it. But from what they've said so far, they don't want to try to alienate the previous console to it. So like PS4 Pro launches, it's compatible with all PlayStation 4 games already. And the games themselves aren't really any different. They're still the same game on either console. It's just if you have the PS4 Pro, you might be able to play it at 4K. Because not all games support 4K. The game has to update that. But so that's the thing, right? Is that they're essentially saying, hey, if you have a PS4, you're still relevant. You can still play games.
For
You
now.
can still play games with people on a
You're
PS4
still
Pro.
relevant.
Yeah.
for now. But you hear even PlayStation fans. I've been seeing a lot of that. They're calling people who don't have the Pro yet a bunch of PlayStation peasants.
There's one
they
issue
found
I
their
say
Pro
with
is so glorious.
the accelerated iterations of consoles, though, is it's expensive. Like, the way they mitigate their costs is that they're going to continue to sell consoles over a number of years, and the manufacturing technology becomes cheaper over that time, so it offsets the R&D and the initial cost on launch. But if they're having to pump cycle these out a lot more frequently, and then you've got also will have more reduced or scattered effects of resale consoles, also online scattering and effects, so on and so forth. There's an actual term for it. I can't remember what it is. Like with Android issues. Fragmentation. That's it. Scattering means the same thing in a certain aspect, but yeah, fragmentation. So you run into fragmentation issues if you close the gap too much. What they really need to be more like PC and also work with rapidly developing technology is modularity.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
I don't think modularity is going to work in the console space.
I don't think so either.
It can.
A lot of your console players don't want to fuss
Are
with
morons?
stuff.
Well, see, here's the thing: is like I don't mean taking your system apart and rebuilding it modularity, because like you take a CPU
like that guy like Razer has, where you just can like plug it into the back of your laptop.
Yeah,
your external graphics, Razer and
Razer Core,
Razer MSI,
I
and
don't
also
think that works
Alienware
for
have
the
external
console market
graphics.
still.
Yeah, but
I don't think the console market cares about that shit.
Yeah.
No, they don't, but that would be an easy form of modularity where you can just plug in a device and like, especially in the 1080 versus 4K. Okay, you get the console and it works great for 1080. Oh, I've got this 4K TV that I spent even more money on. It's a bigger TV and this game looks like shit on it. Like, all right, you buy the $300 or $400 graphics accelerator and then it can run it on 4K for you.
So what you're saying is, you think that the Nintendo Switch should be the way that they go about it?
Maybe.
Well, the Switch is just going to be the new NVIDIA Shield.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the thing is like the Switch doesn't have the accelerating factor on it.
So first of all, to Paragon, next gen you better get 4K with 150 frames. Good fucking luck on a console.
Right now the consoles are struggling to do 30.
Well, no. Here's the thing: is that 150 frames is unlikely to ever happen until we start getting TVs that run an actual legitimate refresh rate of 144 frames. So your frame rates is completely pointless unless you actually have a display that can keep up, right? So
yeah, there's that.
On the console market, they don't really realize it. They see their TV runs at 120 hertz, but that's actually not the exact way the refresh rate works on a TV. It's different. Monitors actually do pull and refresh sometimes upwards of 144 frames. Like Kev has a 144 hertz monitor. Whereas most other monitors are at 60. TVs don't really need to actually refresh in most cases faster than 24 frames per second because most movies, now the recent technology aside, most movies are actually filmed in the United States and North America at 24 frames per second, and then in Europe 25. I'm remembering that right. PAL
Yeah, but
versus
don't forget
NTSC.
about the fuckery they do too, where they tell you, "Oh, you have 120 hertz television."
That's
It's
not
only 60 in light
Yeah.
fuckery.
No. The thing is that's not even that. It's not even that, right? So with the way that the TVs refresh, they're actually doing different scanning techniques. They refresh at the rate the image is being produced over the cable that they have, which is sometimes capped at 30 or 24 or something like that. But
Ooh,
now
peasantry.
what I think you're
So
referring
cinematic.
to is you might be referring to 3D TVs that claim they have a 240 hertz TV.
No, I mean even my 1080p TV says it has 120 hertz,
Yeah,
and
that
it can only output 60 FPS.
well, that's because it's capped by the HDMI cable. The
Yeah.
now you will see 3D TVs will say 240 hertz, but it's a lie. They say 240 hertz because when it's in 3D mode, it refreshes the image twice in one time. So it's 120 hertz TV that refreshes twice, so they say it's 240 hertz.
And for those of you who are still running a plasma TV, that 600 hertz listing is actually 60 effectively because it has to run each image 10 times to achieve optimal brightness. I had one, so I know this for a fact. Read up on it. It's like, oh, 600 hertz, that's insane. No, it isn't. It's 60 hertz effective use. It's 600 hertz because it has to run every frame 10 times back to back to brighten it up.
Yeah. So that's why like kind of computer monitors are the kind of go-to for higher performance because they tend to have much higher quality screens. You have more variability in the type of display. Now, those are starting to leak into TV technology too now. You see like OLED TVs now and that sort of thing. But that's going to be the downside is you're not going to see 150 frames really pushed on consoles for a while. I hope they do, because I would definitely love to see that. However, the other downside you run into is, so it also comes into input lag and reaction time, right?
TVs have enough input lag.
Well,
the reasons I have trouble playing consoles.
Yeah, so TVs have high input lag. Consoles have high input lag because you're typically using a wireless controller. And then on top of that, you're using a controller. So when you start getting above 60 frames per second, 60 hertz, right? You are actually starting to become worse at the game. Like, there's a lot of people, for example, relevant to our last story, Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 on console ran at 30 frames per second, right?
And it felt fine before I got on the PCMR.
Yeah, well, it's like it worked for that scenario because that's what people were used to. That's Xbox 360, right? In controllers, it felt balanced for that because of how slow controllers react. It didn't feel out of place. But once you get on PC, you get up to that 60 frames per second or higher. All of a sudden, that controller feels a lot more clunky because you have to react. You feel like you have to react faster because everything's moving faster, but at the same time you can't because you're still limited by how fast the controller can move. And now that's not a huge difference, 30 to 60. But once you start getting above 60, like 144 hertz, 144 frames per second or above, that's a big difference. Like you try to use a controller at that, it's so hard.
It's a traditional controller.
Yeah,
I mean, like Steam controller is a lot more manageable with that.
Yes,
I mean, I did it with Forza Horizon 3.
Yeah,
it feels good. It feels responsive.
A racing game is not the same. I would say that
I couldn't do it with like a shooter.
Yeah.
No, I can't do stick aiming on a shooter anymore.
Yeah.
I've been like, I can't quite adapt to the mouse and keyboard deal, but the Steam controller has spoiled me as far as controller when it comes to shooter or anything shooter like aiming with a touchpad or gyro is far superior.
Yeah.
Or the combination of the two is actually what I use.
Yeah, like I said, it's still a far distant second to a mouse for aiming, but the Steam controller definitely has a lot more responsiveness at higher frame rates to me. Yes, Kev, we see you
Mouse life.
blindly shilling for Razer again.
I was blindly shilling for mouse life. Mouse lives matter.
Mouse lives matter. Yes, exactly. But yeah, so that's the thing is that, and I think that might be exactly why the PS4 Pro is kind of is because I don't think a lot of people like the subset of the market for 4K is rather small still, especially in TVs. Like not a lot of people are buying 4K TVs right now. They're like, oh, my 1080p TVs just went down in price because of 4K, so now I can get them super cheap.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually looking for a new TV, and I was looking for a cheap 4K that was actually decent for that reason.
Unfortunately, I've got nothing that's going to run on the 4K, so I get no benefit out of it. 1080 was as high as I wanted to go.
Honestly, while my PC rebuild that's going to be happening early next year is going to be based around a 1080 Ti.
So did you see the leak for it this morning?
Yep. Come on now.
For that $1,000 though.
Still, the fact of the matter is, I will wait for reviews. That's the big thing is, especially if it's going to cost $1,000, I'm definitely going to make sure that I have my sources or my information correct, because shit, at that point, I can buy two 1080s or some shit, and by then they'll be less than $500.
Get the Titan get a Titan for another 200. You're not that far away from it.
Exactly. Like to me, that's not really monetizing an incentive for people to buy the 1080 Ti, which really concerns me if they do have that price. But that's
right. It's not like what they did with like the 980 Ti, where it was like almost the same performance, but it was like $300 less.
Yeah, $300 or $400 less. It was, and when you look at the percentages, it was 30 to 40% less in cost. Whereas if it is $1,000 for the 1080 Ti, rumors, if it is, that's like 10% less.
15 to 20.
Yeah,
right. That's the problem I have with the 10 series. The 10 series is just expensive.
Yeah, I mean, if it was $900,
it's like, compared to the 7 or 9 series, it's just pricey.
I was expecting it to be about $900, maybe at $850 or something like that for the 1080 Ti.
I was even expecting like the 1070 to be like about $150 less than it actually is.
Yeah, it may be.
$50 to $100.
You gotta keep in mind, if you compare it to like the previous generation. Previous generation is the 9 series has already gone through 2 price drops. So.
Well, I was comparing the price of the 1070 when I got it to my 970 when I got it. It's about $100 difference.
Yeah, but
I got it like 6 months after launch.
Yeah, it had gone through.
Not even 6 months. It came out in September. I got it in January.
I don't know if it went through a price drop that early or not, but I know it went.
The
whole 9 series went through a price drop pretty fast. Because they were trying to, I don't know honestly what they were doing, but yeah.
They were trying to unload, like on launch of the 1K series, they were trying to unload back stock because they were going to get stuck with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. But anyway, let's get moving on to our last story here, and it was kind of cleaning up of BlizzCon. BlizzCon was obviously over the past weekend, not this weekend. But over last weekend, we had BlizzCon, and there was a bunch of announcements of various things for Blizzard content. They're bringing in the Necromancer into Diablo 3. They're bringing in a couple new heroes into Heroes of the Storm.
Oh, wait, they're bringing Necro into Diablo 3? That means I need to get Diablo 3.
It actually looks
well, they're bringing Diablo 1 into Diablo 3.
Yeah, that's it. They're making some big changes for Diablo that I kind of like. And then also, like I said, they had 2 Heroes of the Storm characters being announced, one of which actually kind of interests me. It may interest you too, Travis. Essentially, it's Ragnaros is being introduced to Heroes of the Storm, and he essentially one of his ultimates, he takes over the towers and becomes a giant form of himself, and then just like has AoE like melee attacks and rains down fireballs on people. So you become essentially a player controlled turret.
I mean, do people actually play Heroes of the Storm? I don't really hear people talking about Heroes of the Storm like that. It's only League and Dota.
Oh, wait,
sometimes Paragon and sometimes Smite. Never really hear much about Heroes of the Storm.
It was funny whenever he said a new character. I didn't even hear him say Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm. Of the Storm. I don't have a list. Heroes
we
of
heard
the
that.
Storm. I don't know why, but my brain like inputted Overwatch, and I'm like, wait, Overwatch. I'm like, Overwatch doesn't have towers.
Yes. No, so obviously then the other news was, of course, Sombra was officially announced. Those of us that were following the ARG that was going on knew that Sombra was incoming and kind of pretty much predicted that she was going to be announced at BlizzCon, so it wasn't a surprise. However, they did then put Sombra into the public test region, the PTR, for PC that following week, and then she's probably going to come out here in about 3 days. So she's actually going to be in the live build on the 15th. I'd expect around that. And Sombra, obviously, I think everybody maybe except Travis got a chance to play her. Kev, did you get a chance to get on the PTR?
Nah, I don't bother with the PTR.
Okay. So Sombra is very interesting in the sense that she is an offensive hero and has a lot of flanking potential, but she also acts as a huge disruptor to enemy team synergy.
Is she a DPS?
Oh, yeah.
She's a DPS character, but she can hack certain enemies, or certain opponents, and like shut down certain abilities. Her ultimate is an EMP, which not only does it destroy all shields, and when I say shields, I mean Reinhardt's shields, Zarya's shields, and then also the actual health bar shields.
Character. People are gonna hate her. Like,
no,
this is gonna be like, oh man,
I've seen gameplay.
It still won't be as bad as Mei.
No, but she does function in a similar fashion to Mei in the sense that she's kind of a disruptor to the enemy team's flow, right?
Yeah.
Mei is excellent at zoning off and kind of separating, breaking apart teams and really disrupting their synergy. Same way here is that all of a sudden, and the EMP not only does it destroy shields, but it shuts down ultimates for a short period of time. So like if you have your ultimate ready to go, like you're a Mercy and your team's getting killed, and you're like, here comes that play of the game revive. You're getting ready, and then all of a sudden, Sombra EMPs, and then, oh shit, now my ultimate's unusable for 5 seconds. Guess what? My team's now going to have to respawn. So it kind of shuts down.
Speaking of Mercy alts, I had a glorious Mercy alt a couple nights ago. It was great. We were about to lose. We were in overtime. I'm running back to the objective alone on Mercy. Get caught in a Junkrat trap. Right as they kill me. I res my whole team. Got a 5-stack. We win.
Yes.
No,
I didn't get play of the game.
That's an awesome. That should be a play of the game. That's an awesome.
Yeah, I didn't get
skill and all that stuff. But one that was awesome timing and just fun as hell. And the irony of it is, I got hit. I was running Trollbjorn, and I got hit. And I don't just camp and hammer out the turret. I drop down the turret, build it up, and then I move on. I go and run around and let the turret do its work on its own. And I get hit with a nano. I get hit with a nano boost. I switch weapons to the hammer and beat down a Reinhardt with a fucking hammer.
Yes.
Why would it add a nano boost for?
It was. I think I got in the way because I was running around as Torbjorn.
No,
I wasn't just.
That's the new meta,
still.
guys.
I was like, I was out in the thick of it.
Wait, the
and
pros
I
are going to
beat
be
down a
doing
Reinhardt with a hammer.
Is this the new offensive Hanzo?
This is the new.
Yes.
This is the new meta, guys. You heard it here first. Before it gets to the pros, Molten Core Torbjorn with a nano boost, hammering the shit out of the enemy team.
I did pull.
That actually kind of would be badass.
I
did think up Molten Core at the same time. I forgot. I did do that.
That's probably
I just want a nano boosted Mercy, or even Widowmaker.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing: is that a good Ana player, and I know this because I play Ana. She's one of like my kind of cornerstone players. A good Ana watches the team and sees if someone's ulting, and if someone's got a kind of a channeled ult like Molten Core, where they have a period of time when they're super powered in some way, that's going to be my target for Nano Boost, right? It's the same thing with, if I see like, there's other characters like Soldier 76, whenever he does his tactical visor, I'll Nano Boost that, to kind of make him more effective. But similar concept. So she might have actually intentionally hit you with Nano Boost just because. But here's the thing. So with
I don't announce his ult though because I don't usually consider it worth as much.
Yeah, but so with Sombra, her DPS now, her SMG does not fire as fast as Tracer. It's still fast, but it does not have the burst damage of Tracer by any means. Tracer still has the highest burst damage. It also has pretty nasty spread to it, so you kind of got to get in a little bit close to be able to really get effectiveness out of it. It also does not have as high as damage, just in general, as most other ones. Like Soldier has even more damage, I would say. However, like I said, the concept of her is kind of a harasser / disruptor. Yes, she's in the offensive category because she's primarily mobility based. But, you essentially use invisibility to rush in behind the enemy team, hack maybe the Mercy or something like that, throw your teleporter somewhere or your translocator somewhere, and then as soon as they turn around and start looking at you, then you're gone. You're gone. You're disappeared. And, while you're turning around to look at the Sombra, there's the rest of the enemy team now just bulldozing you. And that's the thing is that now I'm not really good with offensive characters in general or DPS in general, but
I'm just glad you admit it.
But as playing a tank against a team that was using this brilliant Reinhardt Sombra tactic, watching the way they worked in unison together was great. It was a perfect hammer and anvil tactic. Essentially, she kept throwing her translocator behind us, right? Going in behind us, and then randomly, like, maybe getting a couple of picks behind our lines to our healer or to one of our squishy DPSs or whatever.
I was running healer. I was getting hit by Sombra the most, pulling me off of you running tank, and then Reinhardt was running over you with a healer backing him up.
Exactly. And it was a brilliant fucking tactic. And the best one was whenever I'm like, I'm going to switch up tanks. I'm going to go to a different tank. And then I get in there and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna wreck this this Reinhardt, and I've got Diva and I've got ready to go and I've got my fucking ult ready, and then all of a sudden, EMP, fuck, and there goes there's my ult is like completely shut down, and then Reinhardt wins the team battle again. They just completely shut us down. So as far as as an offensive hero, she's not going to be as heavily like your Reaper. And your Tracer and McCree are still going to be your reliable damage dealers, and that's not going to be replaced. But whenever you have she kind of forms a similar role as Mei, where she kind of just fucks up the enemy team and disrupts them from doing what they normally would do. And like I said, great thing. But the second part of this of BlizzCon announcement was Overwatch League. Which this is actually what I kind of want to talk about a bit more, was the way that they want to actually change the way their Overwatch esports work. So instead of having like the normal teams or whatever, the way they usually do it now, where you get essentially signed to a team and you sometimes will go live in a team house somewhere, or sometimes you guys just get together online and then you just go to events together. They actually want to do it a bit more like traditional sports, where you have regional teams, city-based, franchised for the city. You have free agency. You have contracted players. They're not just competing for prize pools in tournaments. They actually have a salary, and you can be traded and that sort of thing, just like actual normal sports. And I kind of want to hear you guys' thoughts on that. Is like, do you guys think that that's something they should do, or is that something that can even work for an esport?
I mean, haven't they like League of Legends already has leagues, right? Like it's getting to that point.
Well,
Like this isn't treading new ground.
well, the difference is that with League of Legends as well, they also do the traditional esports team houses and that sort of thing. This would be more like arranged like the NFL, for example, where you have the New York blah blah instead of like Cloud9 Gaming or HyperX Gaming, you have the New York Cloud9, or the Miami so and so.
Well, I mean, I would say this is still not completely like because League has college teams already, and they've done rather well
Yeah.
at certain times. Like there are college league teams.
Yep.
So like I said, it's not treading completely new ground. Like
No.
it's taking it. It's to me, it's taking it to a logical new level, right? Like this is a logical thing that could happen, especially with a company as large as Blizzard. Will it work? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, from the kind of viewer standpoint, I think a lot of what they're trying to do, which could be smart if it works, is kind of trying to create more of a regional pride thing, right? Like how if you go to New York, everybody's like a New York Mets fan, right?
Yeah.
Or nowadays
Yeah.
everybody's a Cubs fan, but before the Cubs won the World Series, the joke was everybody outside of Chicago liked the White Sox. Everybody in Chicago liked the Cubs, right?
Well,
It's the same thing with New
yeah.
York, right? Everybody outside of New York City liked the Yankees. Everybody in New York City liked the Mets. But that kind of regional pride thing, right? And then you also have those stories like the Yankees of being the kind of the most loved, most hated team in baseball because they just go and buy all the best players. You get some of those interesting kind of
And
rivalries.
that's the thing is like now it depends on which direction they're going with it, and if they start like the early sports era, which is kind of where to a certain degree, I mean, esports have kind of breached this threshold already, but they did kind of start with it too, is where sports players were treated like indentured servants. I think
yes.
they may be trying to push their way away from that.
Yep.
And go beyond that and garner more support, more money involved. It's not like a player at this point in time is actually getting paid for shit. If they do well, they win, they get good money. Not to say good money is a football contract as a being a higher wanted player, or baseball for that matter, whatever sport you want to pick it. The contracts involved on those get pretty hefty, where you don't really have that as much with esports, but they may be trying to work on putting it out there. It's like, well, it worked for regular sports, and the fundamentals are the same as far as, the financials, contracts, and marketing and other stuff like that. So I think they're just trying to work off the same play, even though the level of interest or the demographic is not exactly the same for viewership.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what kind of I guess I look at with it is when you have these like regional team bases like with that is and the people get kind of traded and moved around, and just because they're not from an area doesn't mean they don't play on that regional team. You still you do get people that are regional fans of it, but you also get people from around the country or around the world that may be fans of that team, and that's already
Wake up, Kev.
Yeah, Kev is dropping off again.
No, I'm here.
Uh-huh.
No, I don't. No, it's the eye strain.
Oh, that's fine. He needs to
Yeah,
get
I'm just keeping my eyes closed the rest of the show for the most part.
He's not sleeping, guys. His eyes are just heavy. Okay. So in any case, but I think there is a unique marketing angle for this too, because then you can still have those sponsors, right? But the downside with the sponsors now, the way that they kind of work, is if you're like the top tier pro leagues, right, in any esport, you get sponsors coming out of the woodwork all want to give you money, right? Like your Cloud9 Gaming, everybody in Cloud9 is, from what I remember, Cloud9 is kind of a conglomerate. They've got teams in all the major esports, right? And they get sponsors from all over the place. To like they get good money from it. Sponsors are key to this because even though like Blizzard has outrightly said, if I remember correctly, they're going to be like for signed teams, they're going to get $100,000 a year. That's a team of 6 players plus a coach. So when you break that down, that's only $20,000 a year, or maybe the coach gets a little bit less. I'm just assuming equal share, whatever. That's $20,000 a year, right? So that's not a huge amount. I mean, that's a paycheck, but that's the reasoning behind them not giving out huge amounts on their salary is because sponsors are supposed to fill in that role, right? So sponsors in a normal sports team is like, hey, you go to like any major sports team's arena, right? Heinz Field or whatever. There's always a big, huge brand sponsor for that field.
Yeah.
There's sponsors that pour money into those teams for advertising purposes, and then that gives that team extra money for salaries and whatnot. Now the difference is in traditional sports is the salaries are still ridiculously high plus sponsorship deals for individual players, which I think is kind of silly. But like hell, in the NFL, the worst player in the NFL makes $250,000 a year. So
yeah.
But on esports, they're assuming that sponsors will pick up that slack on there. The idea, I think, with the league on there is that you as an individual player, you do well enough, you get yourself recognized, you'll get yourself signed to a team in a free agency draft. Yeah, they're planning on having a draft too, so they're kind of going that route as well. And I kind of feel like that puts a little bit more marketability on individual players rather than teams. Like Cloud9 Gaming has all these sponsors go to their teams, but if you're not if Cloud9 Gaming kicks you out, you lose your sponsorship deal. Whereas if Crusher 99 gets signed by Pepsi Cola and HyperX, RAM, Kingston, they get a sponsorship deal from Pepsi and Kingston. If they get dropped from Cloud9 Gaming, that doesn't necessarily mean they lose their sponsorship deal, right? They still have that sponsor money coming in. Which I think that's...
it just depends on what they did to get kicked by Cloud9 Gaming.
That's true.
Like if they decided to pull of Jared Fogle.
Yeah.
That won't go well.
You lose everything.
To be fair, yes. I mean that as a drop for performance reasons. I think that's a kind of a key, right? Is they tried to make it more player centric like traditional sports is. Teams do get sponsors, but the players also individually get sponsorship deals. So it's kind of a two-way street. And also, but I kind of think it's interesting. You'll have more regional, like they're trying to get a bottom up approach to esports rather than having a few high-end teams. And like, let's be honest, Korea dominates everything in esports. Hey, how about Cloud9 Game trades their best US player to this Korean team for a Korean player, mix people up, draft them out, so that way we're not having all just Koreans, nationally beating everybody else. Mix them up into other teams, balance it out, make sure there's more competition, because right now there's not really that kind of competition unless you're looking at lower competitions than the national stage or international stage. But yeah. Oh, it's my thought. I kind of thought it was interesting. Kev seems to find it mildly unentertaining.
No, we know how I feel about esports. That's just me. I'm not a fan of esports in general.
Do you think if they kind of create this environment that would make it seem like more of a legitimate sport to you?
It's less about it being not a legitimate sport, and part of it, like I don't like the title sports in it, but even beyond that, I'm just not a fan of watching competitive gaming. It's not my thing. I'll participate in competitive gaming.
But what if Razer
sponsored Overwatch competitive or Counter-Strike competitive? I'd love that.
But what if Razer sponsored it?
Aren't they already sponsoring a few League of Legends players?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, and it's going to unlock the
I'm,
league.
I'm being a smartass.
I know.
You know, the thing about this is that, like, there's already a bit of like regional like stuff in video games. Especially like, and I saw it whenever I went to Seattle for TI5 with Dota. But the thing about it is it's usually like global regions. It's
Yes.
not like state regions, and it's global. So instead of it being like, you know, oh, the team from New Hampshire, it's, oh, the Americans versus the Chinese, or, you know, Koreans or Japanese or
and the
whatever.
Koreans always winning.
Actually, that's not true. Like Koreans in League are big. I think it's
StarCraft 2,
the China.
Overwatch.
Yeah, the StarCraft 2, the Chinese in Dota, it's the Chinese.
and
In
Koreans.
Not really, actually. The Koreans don't do great in Dota. They did
Oh
good
no,
in
you're
TI5.
right. Well, they're getting more of it right now. Overwatch is the big thing there, and as it was.
What else? I think it's the Japanese in Street Fighter. I think are the ones. I think the
That would
Japanese
make
company in Street-
sense because obviously that's it. And to be fair, if there's a Japanese MMO esports, I'm sure Japan would.
Yeah.
JRPG jokes. But yeah, no, Paragon. Yeah, Korean esport players are really insane. It's because of the way in which games go there. Like you don't in Korea. If any of you guys aren't aware how the gaming scene is in Korea, instead of there being like you're in your house sitting at your computer desk playing your games, instead they have cafes there. I can't remember what they're called, but they're essentially cafes with games.
LAN
playing.
cafes.
Yeah, LAN cafes essentially. That's not what they're called there. I can't remember the actual name for it, but they'll have
In Korea.
Yeah, in Korea, and they'll actually
Yeah,
have.
it's LAN cafes.
Well, there, like I said, there's another name that
Internet cafe.
Korean name. God damn, you're American.
Damn Americans.
But in any case,
Oh, PC Bang. That's
yeah,
what it
PC
is.
Bang. Yeah, that's it. So
Bang, bang, bang.
yeah, so essentially, a game will be popular in those bangs, and literally, you will have one game played by everybody in those. So right now, Overwatch is the hotness, and so pretty much the gaming age Koreans in that country, probably like 70 or 80% of them are playing it, and they're playing it a lot. Like we're not talking about you going there for a couple matches. Like overall, North America games rather casually. Their casual is 6 hours. You know, okay, that's maybe exaggeration. It might be an hour.
Well, and that's a funny thing on, like, you know, North America, particularly the U.S., is we overspend and underplay. You know, everybody, you know, there's, you know, everybody gets their own copy at this point in time, the way consoles and PC are set up, instead of, you know, like having a copy on a system that other people may or may not use that system. You know, everybody's got their own system. Everybody's got their own copy of the game. A lot of people are buying deluxe editions, not everybody. And then we're not spending as many hours on these individually owned games.
Yeah, and the thing is yeah, and if you see how it's not just the speed of like StarCraft 2, yeah, you see the speed of Korean players. Their APM rates are so through the roof. But you know, even outside of just their speed of action, if you watch the Heroes tournament like at BlizzCon there, just the synergy of fucking of that Korean team was just ridiculous. And watching the same thing with the Korean Overwatch team that also dominated. Yeah, I think they won pretty much all of the tournaments that Blizzard had. You know, StarCraft 2, Heroes of the Storm, and Overwatch all got dominated by Korea. And just the way that they play these things is so fine-tuned to an art. Like, for example, one of the kill moves that I was watching that was like fucking ridiculous, never would have thought of it, was the first time was on in Overwatch when he was in Temple of Anubis. They were on defense, and I watched one of them like hop their Winston up into this really odd place that I've never seen anybody go before. perfect flanking position. No one even saw him coming, and he just wrecked the back line of the team before they even know what happened. There's another time whenever they had a Mei on their team. Their Mei walled up an area. I think it was on Hanamura on that first checkpoint, I think, if I remember right. They put up a Mei wall in that choke point while McCree had his ult, and McCree had this little crack in the ice wall off to one side where he could see the whole team, and he did his ult. The enemy team didn't see where he was, and he literally shot the whole fucking team down through this little goddamn crack.
I couldn't do anything about it.
And I was like, that's just the finesse and the precision of that is ridiculous. It's not just speed, but yeah. So that was kind of like, I really wish that other teams would get more on that level, because it's not like any kind of genetic thing that really makes Koreans as a race better. It's just their culture allows for a better thing on there. So if we had other cultures that were more heavily into gaming, then I'd be famous.
No.
No. I mean, come on now. If PewDiePie can make tens of millions of dollars per year playing video games, there's the culture out there for it.
We get some practice with it. I'm sure we could get, obviously not to that level, but we could get a better synergy built up. I mean, we've built that kind of synergy up in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer before.
Yeah.
Especially running biotics, the timing of, just throwing out those explosions, rapid firing those on harder difficulties makes them a lot easier. We've done it before. We could do it again.
My favorite combination is actually me running the paladin and someone else running an engineer with chain overload, because it's just amazing. But let's go ahead and get closing up here, since we're a little bit over. But final thoughts, Kev. How's your nap been?
My eyes hurt. They're strained.
So by the way, they do make computer glasses. I might
have to get some actually.
You actually can get you can get lenses, because you wear glasses normally, right?
Right. My old glasses actually have the tinting on them, but they got stepped on twice in 1 week, and I'm waiting on my replacement pair.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm wearing my original pair that don't have the tinting, and that's why I think I have it.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's destroying my eyes.
I understand. That's why. Yeah. That's why you see me on stream. Like I've got fucking 6 screens surrounding me in this like hub of nightmare for your eyes. So I'm always wearing these glasses.
I think you may, depending on how this winter goes, you may see me wearing sunglasses during the podcast, unless I get a blackout curtain right over.
Oh yeah, because if you get snowfall there, goddamn, it makes it even worse.
It's already bright. Well, it's a south-facing window, so there's that wintertime coming. I'm getting hit by a lot of sunlight.
Yeah, it happens. Any other final thoughts, Kev? Shilling, that sort of thing?
Yeah, check out Kev the Gamer. I am going to start posting on more content. I've just been busy with work. Work has been kicking my ass. And because my eyes have been killing me, I haven't been doing much streaming. Haven't been doing much posting, mainly due to those things. But I plan to get back into it this week.
Xaiphen, final thoughts. Aside from deep frying
I don't know if anybody
yourself.
noticed me opening the blinds and what resulted there, but
deep frying himself.
I do stuff. I play games. I typically stream Thursdays 6 p.m. Eastern time, or 3 p.m. Pacific.
Future people.
Yes, and Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, because I live on the East Coast, bitch. I am going to be trying to, as time allows, and which means this is probably going to be very slow going, because I'm not going to be rushing it like I did with the last series of videos that I created. I was trying to keep pace with Morty. He was a lot better experienced than me and had a lot better patterning down and all that stuff. And of course, there's the creative writing that helped him out a lot too, that I don't quite have as good a handle on.
You have to find a schedule that works for you.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about
stream.
I'm going to be making a series of Steam controller videos, actual edited, refined videos. raw stream.
That'll actually be great.
I'm going to start off with an intro video of an actual physical demonstration of the Steam controller and its capabilities, and then go on to other videos with more specific game applications.
Actually, yeah, like I said, that's a great idea. And to be fair, with whenever you're trying to keep pace with me, I also technically had a team of 3 people helping me with those videos. So, it like keeping pace on there. Yes, I did all the editing and
I did better than I expected to, but this is not going to be a once a week video thing. This is going to be like a once a month if I keep myself on it,
which is perfectly fine. Essentially, like you. And the great thing about it is whenever you kind of structure those, you can stream your gaming while you're playing with the controller, and that can act as, and you just record that, and that can act as gameplay footage.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm going to do, and and also specific details and more unique factors for some games over others. And also, as I add new games to the collection, it can become another video. Mass Effect Andromeda is going to be out too soon if I get that as soon as I'm able to.
I like that Mass Effect.
Yeah, Mass Effect. But that one is not. It's not like I'm going to be done with all of the other videos by the time that I get a hold of that game and can be starting on it. It's going to be on a tail end sort of thing. So by the time I'm just adding new videos with new games, it's going to be a while out.
Yeah. But yeah, so, and obviously we have links for all of Xaiphen's stuff down in the description on YouTube as well for anybody interested. And then, Travis, final thoughts?
For some reason, I'm really good at generating imaginary internet points, apparently.
I want to know if you're getting on that 1050 Ti.
Like I discussed with you guys earlier, given the recent events in my life, the timescale on the PC build, which I've been talking about for like a year now, has been moved up. So hopefully soon.
Is that the change you were telling me about the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are you going to be building it yourself, or what route are you going with that?
I'm gonna build it myself.
Awesome.
Legos, man. Legos for the win.
Legos.
Does the kid have a red build? Because I already have a red build. So you have to go something like green. Get Razor green. Go all Razor.
Because not like 60% of fucking PC games or gaming PC rigs out there are not red and black themed.
I thought a red build.
Nobody I know,
CPU,
sir.
AMD,
Nobody
GPU.
I know.
Are you gonna start snapping at me? But yeah. So in any case, yes, Mike, Vape Nation, all that good stuff. Although I just will throw it out, the fact that you capitalize the A, that some may misconstrue that as Ape Nation, in which case there's a whole new connotation that gets thrown in there. Harambe!
It's V-Ape Nation.
V-Ape. Is that Winston? Winston with his vape on there.
Nope. Fuck that shit. It's Team Pink Lung.
Oh gosh. But yeah, so in any case, obviously you guys all know who I am, I would hope, since you're watching this on at least one of my channels, maybe, who knows. Anyway, so there's I'm this unknown person whom has not said his name at the beginning of the podcast. Obviously I do streaming 5 nights a week plus the podcast here on the weekends. And then also, as I've updated a lot of my media, I will also be doing Mass Effect and Andromeda. Likely, as long as the game does not get horrible reviews when I order it, I will also be doing Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer build guides and that sort of thing, similar in fashion to my Dragon Age Inquisition build guides. But obviously, that's like 5 months out, so that's a little while down the line. Right now, it's Overwatch, it's Mass Effect 3, Warframe, and Dragon Age Inquisition multiplayer gameplay. So, in any case, though, obviously you can feel free to check us all out. Once Travis has his computer built and up and running, we'll of course be having him stream too. He's going to be our resident Dota champion, and he's going to be a Dota champion who plays Heroes of the Storm. He's not going to know what
to do with himself. He's going to start off playing like these super low requirement games that he has been playing. He's like, I don't know. I don't know about this Overwatch. I'm not sure if I can handle it.
He's gonna be playing
Man.
Terraria on a 1080.
Which Witcher 3 with hair works on. Like, no, I that's too much for me.
Yeah. But in any case,
all the frames that can't handle
imagine me
them.
playing Counter-Strike on my 970. Actually, when I was in college, I had a buddy who had a 970 on a 1080p display just for Counter-Strike.
another person noticed. Imagine 001 is like, that guy's sleeping. Yes, Kev is sleeping. He actually sleeps every podcast. He just talks, he just holds conversations in his sleep. It's the fucking awesomest thing you've ever seen. Maybe not. No, he actually is sleeping. He really is.
It takes skill.
It takes skill.
It takes skill for this shit.
He's so mentally overpowering that were he awake, we would not be able to hold a conversation with him. He's just that smart.
Exactly. No, it's eye strain.
Yeah.
Eye strain, so I'm keeping my eyes closed.
That's all good. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and sign off here for this week. Thanks, everybody that tuned in here, and we definitely appreciate the conversation you guys bring to the table on here. We will be here next week, 9 a.m. Pacific time, because you guys in Eastern time are crazy future people.
Factual.
Of course, everybody that's in Hawaii is like, what is he talking about?
Mm-hmm. It's still Saturday night. Or Friday night, excuse me.
Yeah, exactly. But in any case, we're going to sign off here for this week, and we will catch you guys next week for the Pixel Crashers podcast.